So it's been quite some time since last devlog, 10 months to be exact, and I know we're supposed to release a demo map in between that time. I was going over the reviews on TikTok. We actually have a TikTok where I post a little bit more often than YouTube. We were going over the reviews over there, and there were some problems people were posting about. There were some problems like stuff with the jumping, some people didn't like the movement. The biggest problem was that it was Sonic. It was just Sonic at that point. I really just wanted to change things up and try to make it different, make it a little bit more unique than just being a clone game of Sonic. So we spent some time changing some things up, and I think you guys are going to like what you guys see. One thing that actually took the longest was I changed the physics completely. Now I thought Mach was a little bit too fast, and it would have been a little bit more difficult to create levels for Mach, not to mention he was really hard to control at those high speeds. So I slowed Mach down a bit. I also changed a lot of other things like his jumping values and whatnot to make him feel a lot smoother to use. I didn't want you to just hold the turbo button to get to the end. I wanted it to feel like a more smooth platformer. I wanted Mach to feel good when he wasn't using his abilities as well. One of the things I had a lot of issues was Mach did not turn well before. You would lose a lot of speed in turning, and that has been corrected in this update. Mach now does not lose speed when he turns, and it feels a lot better.
Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall, my love.
Before we get into the big stuff, I didn't like how Mach looked super stiff when he would move around. It just didn't look natural to me, so I decided to add something called procedural leaning. Essentially, he's just going to lean in the direction he's moving, depending on how fast he is moving. In my opinion, this already looks so much better. Mach now when he moves around just looks like he's leaning into his movement and looks so much more smoother than it did before. Another small thing we changed was Mach's textures. Now before I get into that, I'd like to just say that we are updating Mach's model. One of the goals in this model change is to make him look less Sonic-y. One way we actually think we can achieve this is by changing the proportions of Mach. We're going with a little bit more of a humanoid approach. If you're actually trying to see what the new proportions are going to look like other than just in a video I'm displaying now, if you see the new profile picture, we're actually using that as a reference. Back on with the textures though, as you can see we actually fixed that little shining issue we had with Mach before when he was super shiny for some reason. I don't know why they came out that way, but that has been changed. Also you can see his emissive lighting in his suit actually glows a lot more now. The color of lights actually have to do with the ability that is in use, but I'll get into that more when I get to the abilities. Before we get into the big chunk of this video, I'd like to go over AI just a little bit. We do have some functional enemies like a simple blob character that just tries to run into Mach, and a flying enemy that tries to fly around looking for Mach, and if he finds him he's going to take shots at Mach. If Mach goes behind a wall, he'll chase Mach behind that wall, and if he gets out of range, the AI will go back to just patrolling the area looking for Mach. The AI is going to need a lot more work though, as it's nowhere near complete, and I just like to think of it as a starting point, but I'm pretty happy with what we have so far. We have a lot more ideas for different types of AI, however, so far, we only have 3 of them done, so hopefully by the next devlog, we can go over a lot more of the AI more in depth, but I really want to get to the abilities, because in my opinion, that's the most important thing to go over in this devlog, as it really changed the gameplay up a lot. Before, Mach's only ability was what I was calling at the time the Blast, which is still in the game. It is changed up a bit and is now called the Turbo Run. However, there's a lot more abilities added to Mach to hopefully make the gameplay a bit more unique. Now we should start off with the turbo run, since that was essentially in the game the last time you guys saw this, but it was called the blast. The turbo run allows Mach to boost up speed, essentially being able to run at full speed just by clicking a button. It essentially acts like any kind of turbo button in any kind of racing game. The only problem with the turbo run is that it was very stiff to turn, so if there was any type of sharp turns and you wanted to make it around them, you essentially had to stop turboing and walk around that corner. This is fixed by having every ability have a secondary, and the turbo secondary is the turbo drift. The turbo drift slows down time, and it also gives you a wider turning radius, so you can make those tighter turns a lot easier. I added an effect where the screen begins to get gray and the music starts to get slower over time. Another change we made to the turbo was we slowed it down a bit, so you have a lot more control over it than you did previously. Now, after slowing it down, I still wanted you to have the sense of speed. I feel like I achieved this with a couple different things. One being the effect the camera does. The camera will lag behind you at first and then rapidly catch back up to Mach. I also really wanted to add the anime style speed lines on the screen itself, as I feel like this adds a lot to the sense of speed I was going for. As you can see, I also removed the old effect, as I thought it looked way too much like Sonic's effect, so I decided to go with a ghosting trail instead. This was something I really wanted to do since the beginning, however I didn't feel like I had the proper skills to be able to make this effect at that time. Over the course of these 10 months, I started learning Niagara a lot more, and I feel like I was able to achieve the effects I was looking for. The next new ability is the rocket jump. Now the rocket jump takes inspiration from Mario Sunshine, the rocket nozzle. Essentially holding down the ability button allows you to charge up a rocket jump. Once the rocket charge is full, Mach will be shot into the sky. I really wanted to add more to this, so I had the camera lag behind as Mach is shot into the sky. And the secondary has a few features to this. One, it will allow the rocket jump to be charged faster. Second, if Mach is falling, it will actually allow Mach to have some hang time. So if you jump off an edge and you want to get back up without falling down to your death, you'll be able to actually hold the secondary while rocket jumping and be able to hover in the sky until you rocket jump. The third part of the secondary is it actually gives you a little bit more height as long as you're holding a secondary whenever Mach is shot into the sky. The next ability actually took some inspiration from Mario Sunshine as well. The next ability is the hover. One thing the hover does is if you are not moving, you'll actually see that you begin to gain a little bit of height. So if you jump and just miss a ledge, you can actually use the hover to gain just a little bit more height to get onto that ledge. There isn't much more to actually talk about the hover, as it does what it's named after. It allows you to hover around as Mach. I didn't want the speed to be as fast as when Mach was running, so the hover is a little bit slower. However, I made the secondary give you a speed boost while hovering. I also added the camera effect from the turbo onto the hover dash to give it a little bit more sense of speed. Now the last ability, I didn't know what I wanted to do with this until actually fairly recently. So this ability still has a lot more work to do. However, this last ability is the swing. Now looking at how they did this for the Spider-Man games for PlayStation, I saw that they're using the pendulum equation. Now implementing this already felt nice, but I wanted to add more to it. When Mach first grabs onto the swing point, if he's above the swing point, it actually will add a downforce of Mach until he's below the swing point, kind of giving it a better swing angle. You jump at the end of a swing, you'll also be able to do a swing trick that will give you a nice boost through the sky. Now the secondary for this, I removed the homing attack from just being a standard thing for Mach, and I added it as the secondary. I added some changes to it as well. I really like the impact that you can feel from it now. I think it pairs really nicely with the swing, as they both use the energy whip to achieve both of them. When making this ability, I did waste a ton of time, as I thought it was really fun just swinging through the skies with Mach. I thought it'd be really cool to also allow Mach to swing off enemies, so I allowed Mach to either homing attack or swing off them. One of the last things I like to go over in this devlog is the rage mode. Now we still have to add combat, and this is really just going to help combat, but till we add combat, all the rage mode does is it makes you invincible and gives you a little bit of a speed boost for a period of time. Also during rage, You'll also be able to use the energy blast, destroying any type of enemies in your radius. Like I said before, there's a lot more to go over, but I don't want to have this video go way too long, so I'll have another devlog out, hopefully within a week or two, going over the other changes we made in Project Mach. For now though, let me know what you guys think of these changes. Let me know if you guys like them or not. In my opinion, I think it adds a lot more depth to Mach's movement, but I'd like to hear what you guys think. If you guys made it this far, please hit that like and subscribe button actually, as it really does help me out a lot. It really helps and motivates me to make more devlogs like these, showing off the new changes in Mach. I'm hoping to get more on track in the future to make devlogs a little bit more often than 10 months apart. Other than that, thank you guys all for watching. Have a good one.